Welcome to the 2013 Summit Podcast, presented to you by the Oregon Ministry Network. Summit took place April 15th through 17th at People's Church in Salem. The following Learning Lab entitled, Serving with Your Spouse in Ministry, was brought to us by a panel of pastors' spouses.
Serving with your spouse in ministry, the joys and challenges of serving alongside your spouse in ministry. So before we get started, let's go ahead and pray, and I'm going to step back so you guys can see. And just ask God's blessing over this time, and at the end we're going to have a time to open up for questions and answers. So if during some part of this there is something that you would like to ask, at the end, do not be afraid to. Just raise your hand and we'll go back to the question that you have and do that. So let's start with prayer. Father, we do thank you, God, that you are here with us today. And Father, that, Lord, as we do have joys and challenges of serving with our spouse in ministry, that God, you would just, Lord, maybe help resolve things in our hearts. The joys and the challenges, and that you would just have your hand upon us today, and Father, for the speakers, that you would just give them wisdom, give them knowledge, God, on their answers, and we just thank you and praise you in your name. Amen. Well, starting at the far end down there, we have Beth Chambers, and Beth and her husband, Russ, are Chi Alpha in Corvallis. I got it right, in Corvallis. So here's a little bio on Beth. Beth found Jesus while in high school, somewhere between 1985 and 86. However, exactly when she was born again is a question she means to ask Jesus once she was in eternity. She attended Eastern Michigan University. While there, she learned to passionately love and obey Jesus. It became obvious to her that a life spent reaching college students was the most strategic way for her to participate in God's mandate to make disciples of all nations. Beth has invested the last 23 years of her life in Chi Alpha Ministries, developing students at 3 different universities to be world changers. She currently lives in Corvallis with her brilliant husband, sweet daughter, hysterical son, and their puppy, a 5-year-old pit bull that will steal your heart and maybe your cat if you're not looking. All right. Next we have Kim Kirkland, and her husband and Kim are on staff here at People's Church as the associate executive pastors. Thank you. And Kim, by the way, is the daughter of Pastor Bill and Joy. This is their youngest. Yeah, the baby of the family. Yes, the youngest. Okay. Kim comes from a strong heritage of ministry and a long family line of AG pastors. Growing up in a pastor's home, Kim saw firsthand what ministry was all about. She developed her love for the Lord, His church, and people at an early age. Kim married Jeff Kirkland in 2001 after finishing her senior year at Northwest University. They went into full-time ministry after that. Kim has served in youth worship and women's ministries. Currently, she serves alongside her husband, who is executive pastor at People's Church in Salem. Kim also works full-time, putting her business degree to use as the director of creative marketing for Church Extension Plan. She is also the mom to their 21-month-old son, Caden. Sorry, I'm stuck. Next, we have Laura Silverii. Did I say that right? Silverii? I did, good. Laura and her husband are the lead pastors at Albany First Assembly of God. Laura is the mother of 3 and grandmother of 1. Laura, alongside Frank, have been in ministry for over 25 years, most of which was in California. She loves to decorate and make floral arrangements, makes the lattes at the church coffee bar. At the church coffee bar, loves to travel on missions trip, and most of all hang out with friends and family. That's Laura. Next we have Linda Stefanik. Linda and her husband Bruce have been married for 33 years. She and her husband became followers of Jesus together in 1978. Together with their 2 sons, they followed the call of God on their lives full-time into missions work and served for 16 years, with the majority of that time spent in Latin America. They returned to the United States in 2000 and are currently the lead pastors of Church on the Hill in Salem. And Church on the Hill is a multi-site ministry with 2 campuses, ministering one in Kaiser and one out in South Salem. So welcome to Linda. And last, we have Gwen Gibson. Gwen grew up with 3 older brothers. She is the mother of 3 wonderful adult children, grandmother of 1 adorable little girl with 2 more grandchildren due this year. And many of you saw Bethany last night, Bethany Escada, and that is Gwen's daughter, and she is greatly with child. So I know Grandma's excited. Gwen has been married to Jerry for 34 years. They have been missionaries since 1989. They have lived in Mexico City, established a university ministry that just celebrated its 20th anniversary, have been on staff with Chi Alpha as the directors for ministry outreach to international students, and in 2008 they were asked to direct International Media Ministries, or IMM, in 2009 and moved to Madrid, Spain. Her life journey has taken her to places she never could have imagined as a girl growing up on a small farm. She has been to 18 countries, lived in 22 different places, and faced the challenge to go back to school for a nursing degree at the age of 43, of which she worked as a nurse for 4 years. Her new challenge has been to learn to do bookkeeping at IMM. Welcome, Gwen. Okay, ladies, try to get out of your way. Name one joy of serving alongside your husband, one word that would be a joy of serving alongside your husband.
Fulfillment.
Partnership.
Teamwork.
Togetherness. Togetherness. Thank you. This is a happy thing. Okay. The next question I'm going to point at Beth to start. What do you think is the number one challenge for the wife of a minister?
I would say the number one challenge for me, although I'm kind of growing out of it, but at first it was feeling like I was invisible. So it's the Russ Chambers family. I have my own identity over here, and so that was really a hard transition for me. I married when I was 28. I'd been in ministry a few years. I was actually his boss when he was an intern, and so it can feel a little arrogant and prideful to say that, and some of that is true. Some of that is a character issue that needs to be weeded out, but it's definitely been a challenge to feel like I'm a little invisible and I'm just along for the ride. And so that's a struggle.
I'd say kind of along the same lines as for me personally, was finding my place in ministry. I wasn't on staff. I'm just the support person, but I also am called into ministry, and so just finding my place and how I could support my husband. And right now it's kind of a transition because we were youth pastors for so long, and now we're executive pastors, but we're not lead pastors, so kind of figuring out where I fit. And do I just, get all dressed up and sit on the front row every Sunday morning? That wouldn't be fulfilling. I need to find the place where I can, minister as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just, you feel lost sometimes in just trying to find your place in ministry. But I believe the hardest struggle for me is keeping my first love, and that's Jesus Christ. And we're walking through life together, and He is the most important and intimate relationship you'll ever have. So I just, constantly am trying to work that out.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, this question was, I had to mull this over many times in my head, because I'm thinking, number one challenge, there's a lot of challenges, but to narrow it down to one or single out one, and I think for me what kept coming back was just staying, I need to be responsible and intentional about staying emotionally and spiritually healthy. And, when I am, not in that good place where I've been really connected with the Lord, then I'm prone to worry, I'm prone to be anxious, I'm prone to all these negative things that are not healthy. And so just recently I had surgery, and so during that time I had a lot of extra hours to really reflect on the condition of my heart, my soul, and my mind. And it was really good for me. It was a really good reminder that I really need to be very intentional and very responsible for my soul care, because the demands are overwhelming and people's needs are overwhelming, and it can be a very overwhelming place. And if I'm not connected and centered with Jesus, it's just not going to work. So I really have to be in that place of in His presence and just that fellowship with Him.
I can totally relate with every one of these. And for me, reflecting on this, I struggle. As missionaries, we move around a lot, and we're traveling, we're seeing and meeting a lot of people, and our life is very, there's a lot of flux. And for me, making friends is a really big challenge. And I meet a lot of people, I have a lot of acquaintances, we have coworkers, and I think there's people that like me, and there's a lot of people I like, but who are the people that, you can really get down and dirty and really open up, and who are the loyal, trustworthy, the people you really can say, these are my friends, and I can say anything with them. That's where I struggle.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question is, what do you do if your calling is not like your husband's? So, for example, I know Kim works outside of the home instead of at the office, so anybody would like to start with that? What do you do if your calling is not exactly like your husband's?
Well, my husband and I were very different in our personalities and our giftings. He's much more the upfront kind of guy, and I'm much more behind the scenes. He loves going from place to place and going from meeting to meeting, where I'm like, after a couple meetings, I'm so done, I need to just kind of retreat for a while. He loves group settings, I love one-on-one. So we're very different in our giftings and our personalities, but somehow, by the grace of God, we have been able to find those places where we can serve together, help each other grow in our differences, and complement one another, and build each other up, and help each other out of their own comfort zones and those sorts of things. So it's been quite a journey and quite a experience trying to mold those things and mesh those things. But yeah, we've been fortunate in that we've been able to find those areas where we can complement one another.
Good. Anybody else?
Sure. I think it's really pivotal to understand how you're different. And when I first was married, I made the grave mistake of assuming that my husband was like me, or in fact should be like me. And so I think it's really important to understand kind of those differences. And I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I like to lead things. I like to, and so for my husband and I, in some ways we have very similar personalities. We are both upfront people. We like to be upfront. We fight for the mic. So that's not cool. You're not supposed to do that. So there was a fair amount of conflict at the beginning of our partnership, and I learned that I was not working with him, but I was actually competing with him, and I was fighting against him. And some of that's related to the answer to the first question of feeling like I was invisible, and so there was this, hey, I'm a minister too. And so can be a performance mentality that kind of comes in there sometimes for me. And So I think it's really important to figure out what is my personality. And if you have not done a personality type testing, I highly recommend it. Myers-Briggs. I think you should do it. It's really important for knowing yourself, knowing your spouse, knowing how you interact, knowing what your likely conflict's going to be. And so that can be really helpful.
I think another thing, too, is to realize that you can be your husband's or your spouse's greatest asset or their greatest liability, and that you should support them, even if, it is just sitting on the first or second row and just nodding your head and listening to the sermon, or, just saying you're doing a great job. You don't have to be the upfront person, and find your place of ministry that God's called you and gifted you to. But I do think that it's very important that you are a team and support each other.
Yeah, my husband and I are opposite. I mean, polar opposite. And he's the upfront person, I'm the behind the scenes. But through the years, we've learned to really appreciate each other's differences and how God brings us together and complements, the whole ministry team. We are a team. And example is we like to have meetings with our leaders, and I enjoy entertaining, so we'll have our leadership team at the house, or he doesn't necessarily enjoy hospital visitation, and I don't mind it, so we go together, and so it just works out. We kind of mesh. So.
This is my reality too. We're very different. Jerry's type A up front, go-getter, make a plan, let's make it happen. And he has a list, and he checks it off. Gotta make a list, and if he did something that wasn't on the list, he puts it on his list so he can mark it off. I want to do everything on the fly, even though I need a list if I'm going to be productive, but I don't like lists. So there's conflict there. But for me, and I'm an introvert. Jerry's the extrovert. I'm not. Being up here is not comfortable for me. I have to push myself. And there are times when I'm asked to do something, and I really don't think I can, or I'm terrified and I really don't want to. And Jerry will encourage me. Sometimes he pushes, and sometimes he needs to. I need pushing sometimes. But basically, and I don't always get to say no. But the bottom line is, I need to go to God and say, okay, God, I don't want to do this. I don't feel qualified to do this. Do you want me doing this? What is he asking of you? You have to know that he's the one asking you to do something. And then you can do it because he's going to help you. And, it doesn't matter if you think you can't or you feel like maybe you did a horrible job. If he's asked you to do it, then he's going to help you do it.
Good. Thank you. What are some safeguards you have built into your marriage and ministry to protect your spouse and keep your marriage strong?
I don't know if this was because I grew up in a pastor's home and I saw this example, or if it's just something my husband and I decided that even when we were dating and engaged, we had rules set in place that, I work in the corporate world, but I wouldn't go out to lunch or have a lunch meeting with someone of the opposite sex. I would always have someone with me, and it still goes to this day, and it carries on to Jeff and his ministry. And even when he has to counsel someone or, do an annual review or something, the door's open or there's always someone there, because we've realized all it takes is a lie or somebody's word against yours and your ministry could be done. And so we've really safeguarded just always having someone else with us. When we worked in youth ministry, we never took kids home unless we were both together taking them home. And also, to safeguard our marriage and to keep the spark, we have date nights. And we have Grandma and Nana and Grandpa who watch our son, and so we can still go out and take time for ourselves because ministry is draining, and we give a lot. So sometimes taking those, we'll just go up to Portland for the night just to, go out to dinner and stay in a hotel just because we can, so those types of things I think really help keep you guys, still date.
I think something that's been really important for me is a high level of accountability to a girlfriend. And there's an expectation that because you're in ministry that you have no sin, that you have no temptations, that there's certain things that you have completely conquered and no longer bother you. Check. Let's move on. And that's just not true for me. And so it's really important that I look someone in the eye and say, I struggled with this week at this time. And next time I struggle with that, I'm going to send you a text. So I think it's really important to not sweep anything under the carpet, ever. Always have a friend who has got the guts to call you on the carpet, to say, yeah, that's not cool, you can't do that, Beth. And who will pray for you and who will check on you. We have to take care of ourselves in that way, because actually, probably we all know this, but there's going to be even more temptation for us, because the enemy doesn't like that we are accomplishing something for the kingdom. And so I think we just have to be really objective about it. So one of the verses that's been really ministering to me in the last year is that there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ. And I think we all we know that, Romans chapter 8, blah, blah, blah. And we might counsel other people in that, but when it comes to actually making a mistake or sinning in some way or even having a temptation, I didn't do anything wrong, but I was tempted in something. What used to happen to me is I would have shame and guilt, and then I have to work myself out of that until I felt forgiven. And I'm just really experiencing this great joy that even when I sin, I have no condemnation. I'm not saying that I can keep sinning. That there is conviction, but I'm not getting forgiven out of a place of shame. And so it's really important to be objective with yourself, and not hide anything because you're ashamed. Because there's no shame. Even if we've sinned, Jesus is a gentle high priest for us. And he's not waiting for us to mess up. He knows that we're but dust. And so he just wants us to be really honest with ourselves.
Can I inject something right here?
I loved what Beth had to say, and this is the thing that's so hard, is when you are, and you say you want accountability, you have to be accountable. Because what Beth said is, it's not going to work in our lives to be accountable if we choose not to be accountable. And the other thing would be, I love your heart, because it's the secret places of your heart where sin lurks. This is where the condemnation and the guilt come in. And when you can be as vulnerable as that and text a friend or call them and say, okay, I just had this bad thought, I just had this temptation. Thank you for being the example of being so honest with yourself, number one, to not hide the sin of even temptation, not that it's a sin, but to just be tempted and not reveal it so that the enemy has that stronghold in your life.
I just want to add to that. Accountability is the key. You probably all agree with that. And sometimes you may find yourself in a place where you don't feel like you have that friend that you need. Like when I first go to Spain, I don't necessarily have somebody. There's a 9-hour time zone change, so I can't just call somebody. Jerry and I have actually been accountable to each other. If we have a temptation or a struggle, we'll get a hold of each other and say, I just had this temptation, but I want you to know I overcame it. Or, we believe so much in accountability, we will do that with one another. And like Kim said, never being alone with someone of the opposite sex, so there's no opportunity for accusations or whatever. There are times in ministry when it's unavoidable. It will happen. And I think maybe 2 times in our history together, Jerry's found himself in that place where he had no option, but what he will do, gets me on the phone, hey Gwen, just want you to know I'm with so-and-so and we're going to this place and I'll call you when I get there. There you go. Accountability covered. So, sometimes you're not in control of all those things, but there are ways to make sure you've got those safeguards.
Anyone else on safeguard?
One of the ways that I have found that helps protect our marriage, and that is through prayer. And I've made a lot of my focus of my prayer time about our marriage and our relationship together. And I've been really blessed to have some great, faithful prayer partners in my life. And we meet together, and we pray for our husbands, and we pray for their needs. And it's been truly a refuge for me. And I know that our prayers have made a difference in that whole area, just the protection for our husbands. And also we have a date day. We set aside Fridays. We've done that for many years. It works well for us. We go away and we do things together. And it really is a non-negotiable. I mean, we don't schedule anything else on Friday unless maybe there's a wedding or something like that that my husband has to perform. But Fridays are our day together and nobody calls. And, pretty much those are those boundaries there, because we do need this time together. We have to have this time of renewal, refreshment together, just fun, letting go of, the cares of ministry, and it has worked so well for us. And just carving out that time to be together throughout the week as well. I know every week is so different for us, and sometimes my husband will be home for dinner, sometimes he won't. And so just kind of look for those opportunities where we can connect, if it's over a meal or in the evening. But just, I have to keep that connection going. It really helps protect our relationship and that communication going. And so, those are just some of the things that I've learned through the years.
Communication is just vital. I know there are times where, God gives women, intuition, and, as little as it may be, speak up and say, I'm not sure about this person or this situation, or, and that way, my husband has learned to listen and go, and probably 99% of the time I'm right. And so communication, don't be afraid to speak up. And I really believe that we need a hobby, something that we can do that we like together. When we were in San Diego, we started running together, and that was just a wonderful time. And even though you're exercising, and it's a lot of hard work, but it was a really good time. And then also now we have found we ride motorcycle, so now and it's a lot easier. But finding something together to do, to enjoy, and enjoy one another's company.
Good. Beth, did you have something else you want to say? Sure, Beth. Yes.
Sort of on the flip side of what she was saying is that sometimes my husband says to me, Beth, I've noticed, and I think it's really important for it to go the other way too. My husband said to me about a year ago, I've noticed that so-and-so, I think he has a crush on you. So can you please be careful? And I think it's really important to be aware of those things and be open with one another. And that it's not an issue of jealousy, it's just an issue of caring for one another. And the other thought I have is, I don't know if anybody's heard the book, The Love Dare. You guys heard that book? Mm-hmm. I really recommend it. Sometimes marriage isn't easy. Am I alone in that boat? Sometimes, like we talk about date night, and hey, sometimes marriage is fun and happy and blissful, and sometimes it's not. And it's work. And if you want to keep that marriage, you have to work for that marriage. And it's really easy for me to make a list of all the things that he should be doing for me to maintain our marriage. Or the things he shouldn't be doing. Should we make a list right now? Well, I'll text it to him. But that's just, it's not relevant. the only thing that's relevant is me and my decisions of how I'm going to love him. And so I really recommend that book, The Love Dare. It's helpful.
Good. Anybody else?
Okay. How do you balance family, work, and ministry? How many of you guys outside here work outside the home? Okay. Here we go.
I'll just start with Kim.
I was not paid to say this, but I would say get coached. Seriously, that's the thing that transformed me.
Yes,
Helps when your coach is your mother. But really, I struggled because, I do work 40 hours a week at a pretty high-stress job. I'm very active in ministry, and now I have a son, and, there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done sometimes. But learning how to say no. I don't have to be the volunteer for everything. And some days my dishes might stay dirty, and I will get them tomorrow, and that's okay. And one thing is just, for me, what works best for me is making the lists and doing the calendars and trying to figure out, okay, my husband travels a lot overseas, and trying to figure out, okay, when is he here, when is he not here, how do I need to adjust my schedule, just planning, because it has to work for us in order for me to work outside the home, and because I enjoy that. That's something I don't want to give up. I'm business-minded, and so that's what I want to do, and I get fulfilled at that. But I would say learning to balance and to say no, to see what's important, and knowing that it's okay not to, be in the nursery and youth ministry and, leading worship and preaching. You don't have to do it all. So I think that was good for me.
I think what was helpful for me is to, you have a mission statement usually for your church. I have a mission statement for myself, basically. And I kind of go according to the mission statement. I make myself available to my husband, and my children are my mission field. And then I will do something in the church that I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy singing, so I'm part of the choir. And I don't make any apologies for it. This is what I do, and I go by that. And the Lord, has just really helped me and making me healthier, by sticking to that mission statement. And I forgot what else I was going to say. I think it's menopausal, but I may come back.
Well, we are empty nesters now, and so I have found in this season that I'm able to do, I have more time available to be able to help in more areas, but I do know my limitations, and I do know where my strengths and my weaknesses are, so I'm able to say yes when I can, and I'm able to say no when I have to, too. When we were first in the ministry and our children were younger, I was really blessed and fortunate that I was able to stay home with them, which I really loved, and was able to homeschool them because we were on the mission field for many years. And in those years, our sons were able to participate in many areas of ministry with us. And so that was awesome because they learned to enjoy ministry. They learned to see God move, and so it was a wonderful experience for them, and I'm just thankful that we were able to include them, and I don't really believe they ever felt resentful or felt left out because they were a part, they were included in what we were doing, and so that was a real blessing for us.
We've always been very careful to guard family vacation. It was never pushed under the rug and didn't happen. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you do something. Even if it's a staycation, the new buzzword, I guess, these days. You can always do something to have that vacation time as a family unit. And, as missionaries, we're always on the road. When we come back to the States, it's travel. And we would make it fun. I mean, it wasn't always fun, but we would travel. Like when the kids were little, we'd throw them in the car in their PJs about 4 o'clock in the morning, literally. Let them sleep until 8, and we'd go to the restaurant, and we'd all have breakfast together. And then we'd stop about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we've driven for 8 hours, and put them in the hotel pool. You know, let's make this fun. Or we'd take them to Grand Canyon. You know, there's, on the way to ministry, we did family fun times. And then again, in ministry together. They're out there on the street passing out the tracts with us. And they're on the street doing the minds with the missions team that came over. So they're part of the ministry, and it's not, they're not an addendum to, they're part of.
Anybody else? Beth? Sure. Okay.
What's the question?
Family versus ministry.
I did have something I was going to say. Awkward silence. I can't remember.
Okay.
Okay. I think season of life is really important, and obviously I've not gone through that many seasons. But my children are 10 and 12, and my daughter was recently putting photos in her own photo album. I went to the trouble of putting them in a photo box in chronological order, because I'm not a scrapbooking kind of gal. So she wanted to put them in a photo album, and I was looking back at those photos, and that little girl is gone. She is no more. And my mom used to say that to me, and I could not comprehend what she meant by that. But that little girl is gone, and she is now a 12-year-old young lady. And so I think it's really important to recognize where you are at this moment, because it's not going to last forever. And to be what you need to be now for your family. And 10 years goes so much faster than you think it can go. It's a blink of an eye. And so I think it's really important to say my children are my priority. And it's a shame that I have to say that to myself. And here's the thing, is some of you are the scrapbooking, school, homeschooling kind of women. And I'm not. And so it's like I don't know how many of you heard the message in there about knowing your strengths. And we can't compare ourselves, because if I homeschooled, oh my gosh, shoot me now, shoot us all, just end the world, it would be bad. So it's important to not try to be like somebody else and have their strengths. And at the same, and so for me, I'm just not a stay-at-home kind of person. I have places to go and people see and things to do, and yet I have to say, my children are not going to be here forever. I have to prioritize. And so I actually have it written down in my Bible on a little note in here saying, my children are my priority. And I look at it almost every morning and try to find a way of incorporating that into this day. Because it's not going to look like scrapbooking. It's not going to look like homeschooling. It's not going to look like staying home all the time. Like it is for some of you. And it's great for you. But wherever you are, whoever you are, we have to find a way of saying, this week, I want my children to know that I love them more than I love Chi Alpha.
Thanks, ladies. I wanted to leave enough time. We have about 20 minutes left to open the floor for questions that we can pose to these guys. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on what we talked about today, but if you've just got something kind of burning that you're just like been struggling with, or just, questions that you would like to ask, or even about some things that they mentioned today. Anybody? And guys, you can jump in here too. There's something you're wondering about that the ladies could answer for you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are any of you married to introverts and you are the extrovert? That's me. That's us. And it's a struggle because he's the senior pastor. Advice?
I can speak a little bit to that.
I thought you probably could.
Actually, on the Myers-Briggs personality, don't freak out that I am an introvert. I can be outgoing, but I need to be alone to gain energy. One of the things I'm experiencing as my husband and I grow older, he used to be an extreme extrovert. He just could be with people all the time and like gain all this energy. I'd be like, can we go home and just like have one-on-one time? And he just always wanted to be at the party. So he's becoming more introverted. He needs more alone time as he ages, and I need more people time. And so my advice is to let him be who he needs to be, and not try to push yourself into the same, hole that, he's his kind of peg and you're your kind of peg, and he fits in his kind of hole, I do think it is a challenge because there is this expectation that the woman is the one in the background. And I hate the background. I hate it. So I think it's important to recognize who you are and not allow social norms to dictate. And also not let your personality dictate, that I can't let my personality own this situation. But also I can't take a back seat when I know God has made me for this moment right here. But he's going to go take a nap. So I have a good time. I got, this is what God's calling me to do. And so I have to be free to separate myself and let him be who he wants to be.
I'll kind of jump into that. Frank Damasio kind of touched, on this a little bit today, that, surround yourself, have your husband surround himself with people that can pick up the places where he might be more of an introvert and they're not, just to surround himself with good people. And the thing is too, that once he knows what was the word he used today? Yes, that word. Once he figures out what he is, even though he's an introvert, he will do what he does, oh my word, what he does well. And so I think I don't really think that it's, there are a lot of pastors that are introverts that, just kind of, but they just have to find their place that God's gifted them, and that will be their strong suit. So, anyway, anybody else?
You're talking about work and family and ministry, and our struggle is I am blessed to be able to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom and take care of my house and my kids, but I have 7, 5, and 15-month-old. My husband works full-time, and yet we have to get out there and because we're college and career pastors, it's really hard trying to tote around your toddler like campuses, and he's working it, so you got to come home. Do you do ministry and feel like you're neglecting your family, or family and neglecting the ministry? And you talk about like date night, and we have a great church family, but everyone else, it just seems so many people are so busy a lot. We don't get that chance to do dates in the meantime. We always make Thursday night family night, no matter what, but there's not a whole lot of me time. But it's like, how do you really get out there and do your ministry too, and feel like I'm just kind of, he's having that problem where I don't have enough time. I have these evenings, and we have a lot of church events in those evenings. Where's the time where I do ministry, and how do I get out there, and like, what can I do other than, because you got the schedule with the kids, and then you got the, what would you do as a spouse if you're not necessarily the one?
Joy. Coach Joy, come on up here.
Joy to the rescue.
Okay, I had 3 little ones too, 3 and 4. And as associate pastor's wife, doing what you did plus music. And that's when I had coaching. And I will tell you that I know I go to this, but I will tell you that if you will learn to do what I call an ideal week, and make your plan and work your plan, you will always have a date night. You will always have time to date your husband. One of the things, my parents were in ministry, Bill's parents were in ministry. I watched my dad and mom date each other until the day my dad died. And they had 4 children. And they helped me understand that my husband was the most important person in my life. My ministry was not as important, and neither were my children. The best thing I could do for my children was to continue to date my husband. To this day, Bill and I have a date every week. We've never stopped having dates. And that's where I think a lot of problems come in relationships, in marriages, in concerns of the church, is because you don't keep that relationship where it needs to be. Your relationship with your husband is the most important one outside of your relationship with the Lord. If I had to do your job, I wouldn't do college every week. I would make it every other week so that one of those nights was my night with Bill. Because you are showing your college students that you're how to date, how to be a spouse. You are modeling in what you do in ministry as much as what you say in ministry. And that's how I would tell you. But what I did with talking about an ideal week, you look at your Monday through your Friday. What are the things that you have to have done? You put them on your calendar first. Devotion time, your time that you know that you have to do with your children. And then you prioritize everything else. But when you make the list as your week, now I was a pastor's wife, so sometimes you have to be flexible. Sometimes there's a phone call and you have to answer that phone call, or you have to. But what I've learned that every phone call was not your emergency. It was their emergency, but it wasn't yours. And so there were times that I would say, when I had my 3 children at home, I'd say, I'd love to talk to you right now, but now's not a good time for me. So let me get back to you. I will get back to you later in the day. But what that helped me do, I was able to stay in my home, do what I needed to do, without neglecting what needed to get done. I still did my ministry, but I did it in my time. Because just because that lady was out there and she was all flustered because she didn't organize her time, didn't mean she was going to disorganize me. Because we'd all be disorganized. So that's what I would encourage you in that is there are ways to do it. If any of you want to know anything about how to do that in coaching, I will send you the stuff. You don't have to be coached by me. I just want to help women know that you can do these things and be successful at doing it. Don't be hard on yourselves. Just plan so that you can do the work of the ministry and still have an intact family that love the Lord, that serve the Lord. And that was the most important thing to me. I wanted my family never to say to us, you love the church more than you loved us. I didn't want my kids to look back on me and say, all of the things that I had heard from my peers. And I can look at all 3 of my children. They all love the Lord. They love serving the Lord. They love to go to church. And we hear from pastors' wives now. I hear pastors' wives say, well, I can't go to this many things because of my children. And I said, well, I always thought children were a gift from God. He didn't give you to neglect the church. It was a gift to the church. And so don't make your children your excuse either. So, God gave you them to raise up in the church. They'll love the church if you take them to church. Don't stay home with them. Take them there. There's my product. I'm very proud of my kids. As I know Cindy is and Sally is of their kids. I mean, we're proud of them. But I think it was because we loved our children. We took them to church. We made them a priority. And that's my heart for all of you is I just want to help you all be able to manage that in your own time, because I'm so passionate about pastors' wives feeling that knowing what you need, because I know so many pastors' wives don't come from the same family background as I came from. They didn't have the same bringing up that I had. But we're here. Sally's here. Cindy's here. We're all here to help you to grow into what we know can be successful for you in your relationship with the Lord, in the relationship with your husbands, and in the relationships with your church. That's our heart. And that's why we're doing this, is because we're all different. None of us are the same. But we still have all the same heart. Number one, lost people matter to God. But so do lost pastors' wives if they're not being helped. And we are here to help.
Just adding on to that, one thing that I think one of the reasons why my brother and my sister and I love the church and love serving is I don't remember one time ever hearing a negative thing come out of my parents' mouth about the church, about the people in the church, and anything. And I think so many times Sunday after church we get in the car and, this went wrong, or these people aren't here, and all these things, or these people need counseling. I mean, I had friends, parents who were having counseling with my parents, and they just assumed I would know what was going on, and I had no idea. And I think my parents put those safeguards for us kids, and I think that's what I'm trying to, my son's only 21 months, so he doesn't quite understand everything, but it's still that catch on Sundays when we are leaving. Oh, this isn't the time. Caden's in the car. We're not going to bicker. We're not going to talk about, how many people were missing or who was there. So I think that's just another encouragement, is just make sure that we speak positive to our children.
I just want to say, when you have a phone call that you don't want to talk forever, just say, just a minute, I'll call you right back. And then you're in control and you can say a few words and you gotta go. Okay.
Joy was asking it. My question was, my husband and I had the fortune and blessing of having both of our moms live in town, so we have built-in babysitters. But I hear from a lot of young pastors' wives who, they've taken positions in other towns, or they don't have family around, and so it's really difficult for them, the date night, which I love, but it's hard for them if they don't have anybody to watch their kids. And I just wondered if you guys had suggestions. Finances are tight for hiring sitters and things like that, just to maybe share with people.
This is also connected to what your question too. I do Chi Alpha, so I work with college-age students, and there is this pressure that everything has to happen on campus. For me, Oregon State campus. For some of you might feel like everything has to happen on the campus of your church. You know what? They miss their mom and dad, and they would love to come over to your house. And what you think is chaos at your house is like warm fuzzies for them. And so I would encourage you to do ministry at your house. Invite Susie Q over. No, just one girl. I don't need a party, because this is one of the things that happens to women, is we have to do the big party thing, and then we end up spending all our time in the kitchen. Have a special relationship with one girl, and even if you don't go to the Thursday night meeting for a whole year, there's so much significance put on the meeting, the big gathering. Honestly, they need a mentor. They need someone to disciple them. They need to follow in the footsteps as you follow Christ. And so, if you do that, you will have a babysitter. And I don't mean that like use them, but I mean you will. I'm just mentoring you all. But seriously, some of the students that I'm discipling, they love my family. She's not a student, but I had a woman stay at my house while I was on vacation, and to watch our dog, and she cleaned out my refrigerator because she was looking for a way to serve me. because I spend so much time one-on-one serving her. And so I would just really encourage you, when you've got little ones at home, invite one student over and love on them, because they really, really need that. And it's, I think it's way more significance than the rah-rah stuff that happens at the meeting. And it will solve that problem, because you'll be building a sense of family and relationships, and they'll babysit for you. Growing up too, we didn't always have Grandma and Grandpa, but I had a Grandma Marge and a Grandma Maxine, who were just older ladies in the church who just loved me. And I got dentine gum and sat in the back row with them, because that was before we had children's church on Sunday nights. So, I mean, I think there's people in the church that would just love to watch your kids. You know, you have to trust them and all that stuff now, but.
Yeah, I had 3 under the age of 3, and I worked full time, and we were youth pastors, but we had built-in babysitters because of the youth. They just loved to watch our kids. But a lot of times we were out, and our kids were out there also, and they just learned that this is their life, and we made it fun for them. But you can. To be together, time together, it doesn't have to be a dinner, a movie. You can put the kids to bed and just have a cup of coffee or tea and sit up together and talk. That's one thing you can do. Just kind of work at it and be creative. You know, it doesn't have to be a full-blown, dine out, dinner date or that type of thing. But also, just work your schedule, otherwise somebody else will, and you don't want that. You want to be in control.
I just wanted to maybe add to that. Sometimes we need to turn the TV off. When our kids were little, we didn't even have a TV. It's probably the largest stealer of our time. So, if you get the kids to bed and it's just the two of you, it can be easy to just turn that TV on and just, chill and not have to think. But that could be the time that you need to turn the TV off, sit down with that cup of coffee or that cup of tea, and just talk through the day or through the week, or what the kids said today that was real funny or wasn't very funny. But that TV really can steal a lot from our relationships. And we need to have the strength, because sometimes, it really takes a lot of strength to turn that thing off, because it's so easy to just sit there. We haven't lived by any of our grandparents, family type people in over 30 years. So when the kids were little, we didn't have family around. But we did have babysitters, and it was those grandmotherly types in the church. As youth pastors, it was usually a parent to some of our youth, or it was some of the youth. And we would offer to pay, if it was a youth, we would offer to pay them, but 9 times out of 10, they would not take our money, because they want to give back. They love you, and they want to give back to you. So not taking advantage of people and our relationship with them, being willing to give them, but allow them to give back to you too.
Thank you for listening to the 2013 Summit Podcast. For more information on the Oregon Ministry Network and our events, please visit our website at oregonag.org.